Hello viewers, welcome to bharatshakti.in. Today we are going to talk about 1971 operations which we are doing in a part of series where we are carrying some interviews from the Army, Navy and Air Force, and as you know, this was a very audacious attack planned by the Indian Navy which made waves all over the world. During the intense 13-day war, the role played by the Indian Navy and the missile boats which were recently taken from or acquired from Russia. 3 boats went over there and created havoc. To take you into the past, I have with me Commander Ashok Diwan sir, who retired, but at that time he was a young sub-lieutenant as a missile and gunnery warfare specialist. So we will be interacting with him and reliving his experiences. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir, we have heard so many things about 71 Ops and about the Op Trident, which the missile boats which were stationed in Bombay and were entrusted with this task. We would like you to recall some memories of yours and relive that moment and experience.
I was the assistant missile gunnery officer on board Nirgut, one of the 8 boats which had come, and 2 boats at a time. They came in from Calcutta, they were towed from Calcutta, they came to Bombay. The squadron was formed, and me along with 7 other course mates of mine, 7 course mates, we were assigned to 7 out of the 8 boats. We'd just come out of the ticket. It wasn't a little different experience, but suddenly we were on small boats. Everybody there would be speaking Russian. The crews would be talking to the officers in Russian, and we were, of course, trying to get in. But all right, we found a way in. And whether you had to strip the gun in AK-230, or you had to get down and look at the missiles, it became part of shape for us. We were the first crew to be trained. We were the first set of officers to be trained in India, and in Strata those days. And our instructors were all the officers who were embarked that time. I think it was about August. The first set of boats were asked to embark the missiles, the P-15s. I remember my course mate, Indrajit Roy, was pulled out of class and told to report on board, and he went out, and when we met him in the evening, he was very hush-hush about it. Well, naturally, of course, it all came out that he
was the fog of war there? Could you smell that something is happening, or?
I wouldn't say the fog, but I would say, all right, it was around, but we knew things were bad. What was going on in
East Pakistan?
East Pakistan was quite horrific, and we knew things were getting a little restless around that. And the dockyard, the Western Fleet, the Western Command were all gearing up. I mean, we knew security levels had moved up. But actually, when we realized that the first 2 boats were being loaded, and then we realized that they were being loaded and they were being positioned in Okha. And from that time onwards, it became a thing that 2 boats would go for about 2 to 3 weeks at a time under the escort of 2 Petias. Sorry, maybe 1 Petia. And would do a patrolling there, come back, stay there. You had to conserve engine hours. You couldn't get too carried away. Come back to Bombay. The next 2 boats would head there, and this was going on. In fact, it became nobody knew who was where. Everything was all became more and more hush-hush as things went on. But when you suddenly passed your course mate, you realized that so and so's coming back, and you heard him on the air for something, and then you realized that they were coming back. As it happened, this particular time, Nirgut and Vidyut were positioned in Okha around. We relieved the other 2 boats, and we reached there, I think, around 10th of November or so. Normal stint is for 2 weeks, maybe just over 2 weeks. 2 weeks came, 2 weeks went. No one's calling us back. We're all getting a little worried, what's going on.
So that is now we are reaching end November.
Reaching end November. Everyone is silent. Nobody knew as to why we were not this thing. I would probably say not end November, I would say around 20th of November. It was on the 3rd of December that it must have been around sunset when I think we got to know that the balloon had gone up.
Okay.
And we had to prepare for it. The commanding officers were summoned by Noy Khatewal. They had gone there. We were told to start topping up our thing. We had to get a thing. So we and Vidyut were alternating our the fuel bowsers, trying to get this thing in. Everybody was moving around. We still had no orders as to when exactly to sail, where to sail. We had nothing as in.
But you were loaded, fully loaded, only doing the fueling, the last part.
Yeah, we were fully loaded. Like I said, at any given time, we had 2 boats fully loaded from, I would say, early August onwards. So that means you had 8 P-15s on call. In December, when this happened, on December 3rd, the commanding officer came back. You could make out from his expression. Commanding officer was Lieutenant Commander I.J. Sharma. Make out from his expression, and of course, he called Tony Lazaro the XO. And they went into a little hustle and went into a powwow over the charts. And suddenly I was called by the missile gunnery officer. And then of course I had to get back. The engineer officer called me and said, look, you're looking out of the fueling. And so I had to get back on board, but it was now suddenly a lot of hustle bustle on board. And by 6, 7 o'clock, we knew that we had to sail that night. Exact time, I think, was still yet to be known, but all preparations to move and to prepare for sea and to remain at sea. Exactly, as yet, nothing was told to us. Only the commanding officer.
But you were aware, sir, that some another force was coming from Bombay to join you up?
Not the crews. Not the ship company's crew. The commanding officer was aware because he'd been briefed.
Okay.
And he had the ops orders. And consequently, the executive officer has been briefed. Again, it only totally need to know. Not that everybody need to know what's going on around here.
I think this is one of the best examples where the stealth and the secrecy of the operation was maintained till the end.
Totally.
Neither the crew, neither the...
No one knew.
We
just said get prepared and get prepared to remain at sea, get prepared for your thing, get everything going. Rations and logistics-wise, we were all right. We just had to get fuel in place, have to totally top up. And we had to, of course, ensure that our weaponry was ticking, which it was. I think it was around 22 or 2300 a night in Indira Gandhi addressed the nation. And that's the time when we got to know the
balloon is up.
Yes, and the seriousness and the gravity of the whole thing, and everybody in the ship's company, everybody was watching. There's a broadcast on board, those who couldn't get out, but it was broadcast on board and everybody was listening. We sailed at around 3 in the morning. We left harbour, and as soon as we left harbour, we were split up. Vidyut's instructions were different. They were to remain on patrol off as the next lot to move in, as the next off Okha. And we were to proceed and RV the force which was coming up from Bombay. And that's the time when then all of us were briefed on board by the commanding officer that, look, we have a mission ahead of us. And he told everybody, all of you know what to do, just start preparing what has. When we left Okha Harbour, we were silent, navigation lights were off, we were saying, and sure enough, the Pak fighters actually crossed over.
All right.
They went over this thing. We were nowhere near. Everybody was out and everybody was saying. We reached the RV point, which is due west of Okha, by maybe about 40 nautical miles. And you have to conserve fuel, conserve engines, so we stopped and we floated. And absolutely on schedule, the force of one more Petya and 2 missile boats arrived from the southeast, and they had come from Dio Head.
Yeah.
Now this is the force which had reached the day before Dio Head, and they had been towed from Bombay to there.
Okay.
They dropped anchor there at night, and they waited, and they started moving up the coast, Khatewal coast, to come to RV Point to meet us. We met the force The two Petias, of course, remained distant. But the three missile boats met. K-25 was embarked on board Nipat.
That is Commander Babru Bhan Yadav.
That's right. Captain Babru Bhan Yadav. He was embarked on the thing as K-25. We closed them at 11:30. 11:30 we stopped engines. We all drifted and we came into hailing distance.
Of Karachi port?
No.
Of the force.
Of Oka. Yeah. All in hailing distance. We had the loud hailer, and then captain was asked by K-25, "We've read the orders, any questions, any doubts?" He said, "No doubts." Ops orders are always
crisp and clear.
Crisp and clear. This is outside. You have to interpret a lot of things yourself.
Yeah.
You can't start doing the nitty-gritty there. He says, "No doubt. What's your fuel state?" Fuel state was given. What's your this thing? Got your missile state? What's the thing? Everything was conveyed on that. And we were all just we were all stopped and adrift.
So how many hours were you adrift, and when was the
that
final
was
charge
about
made?
No, that was 1 hour before. We reached about 1100. We were over there, and those days, if you in December, which is anaprop conditions, if you do talk on the VHF, I think
it can go miles.
It can go miles. It was being picked up. In fact, we were picking up
Karachi port.
Karachi port, movement of ships going on. In spite of the fact that
you were around 130 miles away.
Yes, that's right. And in spite of the fact that Karachi had also been told, Karachi, Bombay, and the nav warnings had gone out that, look, two nations are at war. You're advised to keep clear.
But were you aware, sir, that at that time that we had ensured a full blockade on the eastern side, on the eastern seaboard, that is off Chittagong, and also I have read somewhere that we had ensured a kind of blockade of Karachi as well. But still, you found that the movements were going on.
Yes, they were not thing. The Western blockade, I think, was getting into place.
All right.
Eastern blockade, we had absolutely no idea. Our total news, our information then came from Doordarshan.
So let's talk about the final charge now, sir.
All right. So 1200, we were together. We went into an Op Trident, the Trident formation. We headed due north. The Trident, being the lead boat, was K-25 on Nipat.
And that is Nipat.
Yeah, Nirgat on the port quarter. We were about 1 mile away.
And we were on the starboard quarter.
We were on the starboard quarter. And further on our quarter was, we had Kachal on the port side, and the other side was P-31 on Kadbat.
Okay.
I'm not very sure.
One of the Petias.
Yeah, one of the Petias. The force started moving up, and we were totally loaded. And one of the things, when you're fully loaded and you're trying to think, your engine room temperatures shoot up. Engine room temperature, the main engines, it goes up. So it has to be very controlled. So first we started at 20 knots, 21 knots, 22 knots, and it was literally all there was no talking. It was either by flag or by flashing. 22 knots, one guy would lead, and then we keep station. It was all loose line abreast, so you didn't have to be accurate station. 22 knots, 23 knots, and as it went on, we were slowly started pulling, and the boats were fully loaded with all 4 missiles on board. Each missile carries
250 kg.
250, almost 250 kgs of explosives. And that's a lot of weight, added weight.
So that means the Indian Navy was likely to plan to achieve the surprise. You had the concentration of forces, and you had speed with you.
We had speed with us. We had to be careful that we had to think, and total silence, nothing here. As we kept going along, around 1700, I think one of the boats, engine room temperatures went up. They slowed down. They asked us to slow down a bit. We came down. That was Veer. The force came down a bit. And again, they went up again. We went back on this thing. At sunset, we were still streaming up, going absolutely, doing 24 knots.
And still some way to go.
Still some way to go. And we were about at least 100 nautical miles away at around sunset. No change. We were just a force of three things forming a Nirgat, forming a Trident formation. and the two Petias on either side. Just after sunset, suddenly we realized the moon hadn't come out as yet. The moon was up at 2000. That was one of my jobs as assistant missile officer, to also calculate moonrise in location.
Yes, sir.
But we realized between sunset and that time, and as we're moving along, the fluorescence was very, very visible. Fluorescence on our wakes. We had a huge wake. All of us had wake. In fact, we were keeping station now on each other's wake.
Okay.
And the fluorescence actually got us really worried. We say, well, that's going to be a thing. Because,
should there be another maritime surveillance sortie and you're out?
We could see the distant Petia, at least about 3 nautical miles away. You could see his wake. And anyway, it was a little worried and worrisome on our side, but all right, we could do nothing about it. We started moving. I think it's a slight alteration, of course. We came on, I think, from 00, we came to 010. Again, total silence. Everybody knew what the thing. And at about 22:30, we were roughly about 35 nautical miles away from Karachi on the northeast. I would say around then, which is on a starboard bow. We found a contact closing us. We lifted radar silence at about 2200. At about 2100, I'm backtracking a bit. About 2100, we picked up, a CAP picked us up, which we learned about it later.
And CAP, for the viewers, is the Combat Air Patrol. So that is the aircraft which picked them up.
The Pakistani aircraft picked us up, and he wanted the fighter aircraft to come. And this is all which was picked up by our surveillance team ashore. But there was nothing was coming. We didn't know about this, but nothing was coming because
what we read is that at that time they were carrying out some preemptive strikes on 8 airfields in India.
That's right.
So that is how they did not have any assets.
Absolutely, there are no assets to come in for us. It's for us. We had at about 2200 maybe 2230. I'm not sure the exact time. We lifted radio and radar silence. But radio silence was totally on VHF, UHF. That's all, not anymore. But our Rangooth radar picked up a contact right ahead of us on the starboard bow, maybe about green 20, and doing about 24 knots. And then after a little while...
So that was a certain giveaway that it is not a merchant vessel.
That's right.
Any vessel which does more than 18, 20 knots in that kind of a scenario and not in the traffic lanes is a sure shot giveaway, a warship.
Absolutely correct. So we realized that this could be belligerent contact, what you were saying. So it was designated as Reno Foxtrot. In fact, that's another thing.
The famous Reno Foxtrot.
And we asked K25, what do we do with Reno Foxtrot? He said, are you sure about speeds? We said, yeah, they're sure about speeds. They're doing almost 22 to 24 knots. They said, all right.
Engage.
Fire one. I think we called him Banana, I think, that time. So we disengaged from the force. We turned the thing. Kachal remained with us. He remained in our... literally, it was very assuring to have a Petia on nearby. Petia is about, I would say, a crew of about 200, about 130, 135 thing about. We disengaged and we started our pre-launch checks. We increased speed as required. We got to be facing the sea. We increased speed, and at 23:11 hours we fired the first P-15 was fired.
And the target was?
The target was PNS Khyber, which we didn't know then. We just knew.
We knew that it is a belligerent and it's a warship.
It's a fast-moving contact.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say that would be the first. Nirgat's first missile was the first from the Navy side. It was the first act of belligerence from our side. It was first thing. We fired at 23:11, and immediately the drill we followed. As soon as you fire, now you're closing the contact very fast. Both the contacts are coming in at 40 knots, 45 knots. which is 90 miles. Which is
So first
90
engagement
kilometers.
was at around 11 nautical miles.
No, it was about 18
18 nautical miles. And the
miles.
range of this missile was around 20, 25.
22, 23.
So at the extremes, you had engaged.
Yeah, we launched the first. So we launched, being the assistant missile gunnery officer, I was also the general dog's body round. Because you had a missile gunnery officer in the PCR, you had
the captain on top?
No, not on top. They're all in closed bridge.
Yeah, in closed bridge.
Captain and the XO on the enclosed bridge. I was on the table, or the XO Tony Lazaro was on the table, and we had just behind we had the radar room, which was our mainstay, the Rangoon radar. So we fired. I was told by the captain, go on top, see what's happening. And I ran on top.
And that is the first visual confirmation that something, that flash has happened.
No, we didn't see that. No, but I could see it streaking. It went over the horizon, and then I saw an explosion. I saw a visible explosion. We hit. Obviously, we hit. And I was now talking to the bridge down below. Came down. Immediately, the ship altered course, returned, and started opening distance again. We went back. We reported to the OTC. The OTC, meantime, had altered course towards. He started closing Karachi. And the third contact which he had found, which he later found was the minesweeper Bunsif, he asked Veer to engage. So Veer on our starboard beam, far away, engaged Bunsif.
But in between, sir, we have read that you first engaged Khyber. Khyber was engaged with 2 missiles.
That's right.
Then there was a merchant vessel which was carrying ammunition towards Karachi port, Venus Challenger. He was also engaged. Then came Shah Jahan, which was accompanying him. It was escorting that. So these were the 4 hits which we got.
So the Shah Jahan, that's right. So Shah Jahan was taken on by, of course, nobody knew exactly, but again by interpretation.
Correct, 4 contacts.
Yeah, that's right. Venus Challenger, but what she was carrying on board, I don't think anybody knew what she was carrying on board.
But it was sunk.
She went down. See, we of course were concentrating on this one contact, Reno Foxtrot, and we opened up. As we opened up there, and we asked what we do, he said, "You fire another one on," because it was floating. We could make out that the contact was visible again on our respective Rangoots. I went into the radar. This time I was told to go to the radar room and monitor what the radar room was going on, which was PULR Bhatti, all Russia trained, outstanding.
So at this time, sir, you guys were also using Russian language, and I heard when we were discussing that another Malayalam was also
thing, because in between you had
to deceive the enemy.
Because we had got this, I think it was called Unko had been started. And that is part of the own code. Some new code had been given to us as a sub-reference on board the Navy. And we were being briefed by the yeoman and chief yeoman in Oka. Nobody knew really how it was going. But anyway, when the time came up, and by the time you decipher and you pass on. So in between, innovation is to the game. So either the XO would go down and he would quickly get on the thing and ask the other side, look, get the XO there, and they'd talk quick, exchange in something in Russian. Or in between, leave it to the guys here, and somebody would say, Malayali there, the Malayali would come out, and quick Malayali, but it made also move faster.
So this was the coordination also between all the units. You had Russian going around, you had the actual English going around, and you had the Malayalam going around. And so tell me now, after this, all the 4 contacts were engaged, then you had a final...
so then I went to the radar room.
On the Kirmari oil fields also.
Yeah. No, so by then, first we went and we entered they fired one, Nipat fired one which hit Shah Jahan.
Yes.
I think then we had been asked by then, I think Veer had also fired. I'm not sure the exact timings of these. We were asked to engage Reno Foxtrot again. I went to the radar room and I sat there with the PLR Bhatti, and he was very, very deft with it. And his remarks while I was sitting with him in a small radar room, and he was on the joystick and he was strobing, and he was saying, telling me in Punjabi, it's so cold. It must be very cold over there in the water. I don't know what we've hit, but we have it. But thand hogi, and you know, I was watching him, and he was very deft to the strobing. He got it. He says, we got it. So we immediately reported that we locked on. We gave the signal locked on. Immediately with block on goes on. The next P-59 gets in position. Again, we increase speed. We fire the second one. This time when we fired the second one, once again I was asked to go on the bridge, on the GDP. I went up there and there's a little confusion because and as soon as you alter course, big alteration of course, literally port 20 sort of get out of the thing, to open out distance again. And as I went up there, I lost my bearings and I saw 2 missiles. And I quickly went on the pillars, realized that this one is our missile, what we fired. You can make out of the pillars what bearing you fired on. And then I realized another one, and that was the missile which was streaking towards Karachi.
All right.
I mean,
so
it was
almost simultaneous.
Simultaneous, within 30 seconds of each other, as it is. There are 2 missiles streaking over. One going to the Khyber,
and one
was going
beyond.
further beyond into hitting Karachi. I didn't see anything on Veer's side because we were too far. We were over the horizon this side, he was over that side. But what he hit, when he hit Munsif was just south of Karachi.
Okay.
We were still quite Nipat, I think, had fired about 25 nautical miles away. No, sorry, closer. When she started closing in, they fired at about 20, 22. When I went back, I went back into the radar room and I was sitting there. And there I could actually see the strobe while I saw the contact. And then I saw 2 contacts. That means 2 distinct. You can actually
split.
The split. I saw 2 contacts, and he was doing it so well. But he was doing it so well. He split the contact.
You want to say Khyber split and then went down.
And then I saw 1 contact. It remained 1 contact. I mean, one side went down. I believe it was the bows which went down because we hit the ammunition, which is all in hindsight, of course. It was a poignant moment, no doubt. It was cold. It was there, and then just before you came in, I was reading a report. I had an extract of that time navigating officer Khyber, who retired as a rear admiral, and he had written about his reminiscences, what happened that night. And there were 240 on board. He said we were 65 in the water, and finally 31 survived. That is a huge. That's a huge loss for any state. I mean, for mankind, I would say it is not anything. But there were 240s, 60 or 65 in the water, but finally 31 survived.
So when was it pulled back then?
Yeah,
when were the orders to pull back now?
I think I forget the number, which K-25, how many had been ordered? He had fired 2. We had orders to come back with. All of us had orders to come back with 1 for a return. And then we got the order to. We got the code word Angar, Angar, Angar. Burning. And you did a starboard 30, you turned around, and then everybody just said, let's move. Let's get out of here as fast as we can. In the room also, I think they must have really...
Home revolutions,
the works there, and we zipped. The cap was still on top, and they were still asking, but we were thinking... And I believe the Jaguar fast boats had come out, but they couldn't, we were too far for them. And the faster you went, the faster we opened out. We, of course, lost contact. We were not in tight formation. We lost contact. As we went on, we could see each other on the horizon. We had no navigation lights, of course. Nothing was there. But we could watch. We could see on the silhouette, we could see Kachal was with us. She stuck to us, I thought, very, very well. It was really heartening to have one Petya next to you.
So what was the feeling of the crew then? Mission achieved.
No, we achieved, but we didn't know what we had achieved.
Yeah.
We just were not aware what
all
we
that
did.
Came out in the morning when you were telling me that when you heard the news that you came to know that.
We saw Tir, we went alongside Tir, and we just... We were desperate. We needed fuel. We were literally sputtering. We had no fuel. And we went alongside Tir, and there Tir was talking to us, and Tir was saying, we asked Tir, what happened? Do you know what happened to us? And he said, you hit some ships. We don't know, but you hit some ships. He said, oh. It had to, but all that news Tir got is from, I think, from Doordarshan.
Or the All India Radio.
Sorry, that time was All India Radio. They attacked. More information had to come out, but meantime, as we were getting back, we saw over the horizon, we saw Veer appear, which we said, all right, because we had fallen behind. I think range room temperature shot up again. But all was well. We all think.
So viewers, you've heard the man on the scene himself, Commander Ashok Diwan, who was then a sub-lieutenant and was behind the consoles which was spitting out the missiles. We will continue with this series. Thank you very much for watching us.